Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum everyone. If you just give me a one, type one in the chat just so I can make sure you can hear me, the connection is clear and everything. Just type one, please. And we're going to jump straight into it, inshallah. I was just reviewing last year's live stream that I did. I've done these, I think, for 5 years, 6 years in a row now, where I come and I plan my Ramadan here live with you. Before I did it in a webinar format, and now just doing it on here on YouTube, right? So it's for everyone to see. So if you want to share the link of this with someone, maybe on WhatsApp or something, they can join in. I think we'll be here for 30 to 45 minutes planning our Ramadan. We're going to finish this live stream, inshallah, with a very solid plan of what exactly we're going to do this Ramadan, inshallah, if Allah gives us the ability to do that. So it's going to be very practical. It's not a lecture. It's not something you leave in the background. You just listen to it while doing something else. It's very practical. So that also means you have to get a pen and a paper. Okay, so I've got mine as well. So because I'm doing it here with you now, right? I have stuff I'm used to doing in Ramadan. But having said that, I'm still going to be here doing a plan. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I can see in search, Ahmed, Earth is amazing. Assalamu alaikum. So yeah, if you just want to get the pen and paper and share this link with anyone who might be interested in having a good Ramadan. I kind of feel like good Ramadan for once, right? Because many people, they feel so positive about Ramadan. They feel so inspired, if you like, but that doesn't turn into real action. So this, inshallah, is going to make it very real. Okay, it's going to make it very actionable, and it's not going to make it intimidating or over the top. It's just going to be that you create a plan that you actually implement. Even if that plan is something basic, that's fine. But the main thing is that you get momentum, okay? And I also like to focus on after Ramadan. How can we start stuff, do something every single day in Ramadan so that at the end of Ramadan, we're continuing with that, okay? So if we are ready, we got a few people live here, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, Yasmin, Shamaki, Wayak. I can't get interactive as I'm working. Okay. But in search, you're going to kind of still have to need the pen and paper to get the benefit from it. Or maybe you can watch the afterwards, right? Or after we're live. After we've gone live, the video will be available. Okay, so let's just begin, inshallah. Bismillah. So the way we're going to do this is in kind of 3 sections, okay? So first, let's just talk a little bit about why we're doing this, what's the purpose of it and all of that. The purpose of planning is so that you don't have to decide what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and all those kind of things every single day, or even multiple times in the day. It's already laid out for you, and so that makes this kind of stuff effortless. It's also doing some of the hard thinking beforehand to think about what is actually reasonable, what times am I going to be available, and all of that, so that you actually do it. That's what this is about completely. It's about actually doing it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do on your paper, I've got the 3 kind of stages here written down. The first thing is to think about the times where you could do ibadah, because we're going to focus on the ibadah, that Allah specifically mentions in the Quran or in the Sunnah. These are things that generally we like to do a lot of in Ramadan, like dua, like prayer, like reading Quran, memorizing Quran, these kind of things. When do you have available to do that? That's the first thing you're going to want to write on your paper. When do you have time where you can do those, right? So for me, for example, I've got between Taraweeh and 11 p.m. Okay, that's one time. That's a time slot that I've put here. Okay, so just think of you might have 1 slot a day, you might have 2, 3 slots in a day where you can do ibadah, and maybe you're not going to use all these slots for sure, but just areas where you don't have obligations for sure. Okay, like times when you're not working or you're not helping your parents with something, right? So that's the first thing. So I've got about 3 slots written down here. And by the way, if you ask any questions about the relevant area that I'm talking about, that's no problem. If you ask that in the chat, I will answer that for you here now, right? So yeah, so just think of 2, 3, 1 time slot where you're available to do ibadah, right? And also, you know, just while I'm waiting for you to just confirm that you've done that, you kind of got an idea of those time slots where you can do ibadah. It's also interesting to think of the times when you're most able to do ibadah, right? So I've got one slot here, which is Asr to Maghrib. Now, Asr to Maghrib, that's like a good amount of time, but I know that's like a low energy time, right? So what that means is that I'm probably going to put easier stuff there. So if I was just going to read, for example, read a tafsir or something, I might put that there, yeah? But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First, for now, it's all about deciding on the times when you can do ibadah. Okay, let me just look at some of the messages coming in. So, Munira, wa alaikum salam. Salam alaikum, Adil, is that? Earth is amazing. I heard we should say Ramadan Mubarak. In the lockdown, there is so much time. Well, yeah, it depends who you are, what your setup is. Like me, yes, we have lockdown, but I'm working as usual, you know. So depends on the person. But either way, you know, maybe you're saving time traveling and stuff like that. You're saving time not going to visit friends and family, like to have iftar with them. So that's sad, of course, but at the same time, it means that we have maybe more time available as well. So that's true. So yeah, decide on the time from this time to this time. When am I available, right? And I think I'll just move on because I haven't got confirmation. People kind of understand. I'm guessing you understand. And like me, I've got 3 slots available where I could do this type of ibadah. Okay, so that's the first stage where we're deciding when we can do our ibadah. The next stage is, what are the possible things I could do in Ramadan? What's the type of ibadah I want to do that in these very limited days in the year, 30 days in the year? What because the time is so precious, what am I willing to prioritize and use to put forward for Allah in this month? Okay, so obviously there is the obvious stuff here, which is really what I recommend usually. So there is the Quran, right? So we've got reading Quran, we've got memorizing Quran. Okay, so that's definitely one thing. We also got like tajweed, right? I'm going to add that tajweed. Okay, because a lot of us, you know, we don't really prioritize our tajweed too much, but in Ramadan, that could be something where if you can have a setup in Ramadan of practicing tajweed, getting your tajweed corrected for 30 days non-stop, I think by the end of the month, you should be quite good. You should be quite solid, right? I know that I am actually, and I have been in a few WhatsApp groups where you recite as a voice note and there will be a teacher there correcting you. Now, that's probably not the exact best way to go about it. It's best to do it live, you know, via video chat or whatever, but that is an option, right? So tajweed is also something with Quran. So for Quran, I mentioned reading Quran, like a lot of people do 1 juz a day to finish the whole thing. Finish the whole Quran in the month. Memorizing, okay, so it could be revising old stuff or memorizing new thing. I know some people, they like to memorize Surah Al-Mulk, for example, because it has 30 ayahs in it, so 1 ayah a day, very you know, manageable. And then tajweed, if you have a way that you can get your tajweed corrected, then 30 days is very realistic time to do that. There are other options to do, of things to do, fill this time with, right? So studying, right? So is there a specific series on YouTube you would like to follow, right? Either audio series, video series, where by the end of the month, your iman will be lifted and you have more knowledge of that area, right? For example, the Seera. Seera is a really good one. By the end of Ramadan, we're going to really understand more about the way the Prophet ﷺ, you know, came into this world and delivered the message, you know, and all of the Sahaba as well, and all of that. Very useful for our iman, like for actually feeling uplifted and more willing to do something for Allah. And then also, inshallah, that will stay with you. Okay, so study. Yeah, what could you study? Right. So for me, I'm just gonna write. So study wise, I'm gonna there's a tafsir book I have, so I'm gonna write that tafsir book. Potentially I could finish that in the month, because it's like a summary tafsir book. So maybe I could go through that for the whole in the whole month. I could go cover to cover. So that's one thing. Is there any other series or anything I would like to cover? I tend to not like doing hardcore knowledge in Ramadan, because I feel like it's more about just pure ibadah and learning things or listening to things that will kind of uplift your iman rather than learning like detailed like fiqh, for example, like rulings. Okay, but nonetheless, you know, you do you, right? I know in the past I did a really nice series from Norman Ali Khan, which is on Bayana TV. It's not like public and free and stuff, but I think now it's called Quran for Young Adults. That was honestly, I think, a life-changing series that I went through, and that was like 5 years ago or something. So there are these series that give you foundational thing. That's what I would call it, you know, foundational knowledge that's good to go through in Ramadan, like Seera, like maybe Aqidah, like the names and attributes of Allah. If you know any series of on that, okay. So that's study, okay. Let me just look at the comments quickly. Okay, what about dua? Yeah, so dua is one as well that I was gonna bring up next actually. So dua, when it comes to dua, I think it's about preparing dua, so writing some dua down, or you know, if you want to memorize it, some dua, and setting time aside to do that. The time that I like to do that actually in the past has been before Maghrib. You know, if you're available at that time, 5-10 minutes before Maghrib, just sit and make dua for 5-10 minutes non-stop. I think that's a good idea, and we're just brainstorming here, right? So, what are the ideas you have for now, right? We're not committing to it yet. Okay, more ideas is prayer, of course. So, because most of us or all of us will not be going to Tarawih in the mosque, what are we going to do about that, right? Are we going to pray our salah in the house? Are we going to pray with our family? Are we going to make sure we try and gather and create a jama'ah, which is very important? I would really recommend that, you know, especially if you have, you know, if you're the man of the house, or you're a kind of leader in the house, like make sure you gather everyone together to pray together. Okay, especially you know, Maghrib, for example, you're eating. You're having your iftar together, you're breaking your fast, have something light just to break your fast, and then go pray together. Yeah, and then Isha, again, pray together if possible, and then pray some Taraweeh. Okay, so myself, I will be trying to do my own Taraweeh this year, and I will be reading from the Mus'haf, right? Because I've not memorized the Quran, but I will be reading from the Mus'haf. I don't think I will be reading one juz per day in Taraweeh, but I will be doing, I don't know, I'm guess I'm going to decide on that, but I think I'll try and do like 8 pages a day for in my Taraweeh. Okay, so Taraweeh is an option. Okay, and then you also have extra night prayer. So Taraweeh is usually after Isha, right? But then what about just before Fajr? You know, so you might get up, pray, then Fajr comes, right? So you might want to do that, especially in the last 10 days. Okay, so last 10 days. Okay. Okay, good stuff. So Ruqayya says how to balance all acts of worship, studies, and rest and accomplishing goals without burning out. Yeah. So we're going to get to that, I think. In terms of how to balance stuff, the way you would balance it, I think, what is built into this kind of system I have is that you've already decided the times when you're available to do your ibadah. So yeah, so you might have, like, I've got 3 different areas of my day where I could do ibadah, and it doesn't mean I'm going to fill all of that up, because that's how you might burn out. But I just know what I'm available for. Okay, so that's kind of how I would balance it. So you talked about studies, family, rest. Yeah, you're going to have time already for your studies, right? You need to decide when that time is, that slot will be. And then you have time for ibadah, and you have time for family and time for rest, right? So you're going to have slots in the day. That's how I would say, yeah. And back to ideas for types of ibadah. So Taraweeh, night prayer, also sunnah prayers, so that's like after the salah, yeah, after the mandatory salah. And then we've got charity. Okay, so charity, of course, a lot of people give their zakah in this month. Okay, so you got your zakah, your zakah, and then extra charity that you might want to, you know, give every day, or give every day of the last 10 days, whatever it is that you can do, you can manage. So these are like the main areas, I think, of worship, right? Like actual prescribed worship by Allah directly. There are other areas like helping your neighbor, like you know, helping your family out. Like, let's say family that you don't live with, you might deliver food to them, for example. You know, just drop it off at their house or whatever. Contribute in different ways to different things. But what I mentioned here is like the recommended and stuff like that. Okay. So Lala says many shuyukh have series of lectures. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I said in the study section is you can follow a series through Ramadan, something like Seera, something like the names and attributes of Allah, which it will raise your iman, inshallah, and it will motivate you to worship. And inshallah, you'll leave Ramadan with something there that you can hold on to. Okay. I'm going to learn Arabic after Dhuhr. Okay. Okay, so we've got some good ideas here now in terms of what we can do, and then we also did already in the step one when we might do it. Now let's move on to the third and the very practical section, which is how are we going to set our goals exactly? Okay, and the formula that I use for that is a kind of sentence structure. So maybe if I write it in the chat, you're going to be able to follow alongside, because I don't have any visual thing. I mean, I just got this here, but I don't think that's clear. My handwriting is not the best. So now that we know when we can do ibadah and the ideas we have for our ibadah, I'm going to give you the sentence structure for you to create your actual goals. Okay, and we're going to word it in this exact structure because it has all the ingredients of a good goal in the structure already for you. So I don't need to teach you what makes a good goal, what makes a goal realistic, what makes a goal just get done. I'll just give you the structure and you fill in the gaps. Okay, so it works like this. So it would be okay, and then it would be, you fill it in with act of worship. Okay, act of worship. Okay, and then it's at this time. So time, and then for, and then it will be how long it is. Yeah, duration. Okay, so you can see there are 3 gaps there, and that is what you're going to fill in. So I'll give you an example here. So I read Quran after Fajr, for, and then I put 1 juz. That's an example of a good goal, okay? Because you've got all the ingredients there. You've got what you're going to do, you've got when you're going to do it, and you've got how much of it you're going to do, okay? And when it comes to a lot of these things, so if you're going through a series, for example, on YouTube, it might be 1 episode per day, okay? But then there are other things that it's very good to use timings for, okay? Very, very good to use timings for. So for example, dua, that's one where you just want to use timings, right? So it might be, I make dua after Asr for 10 minutes. And 10 minutes, you could do a countdown timer on your phone. I don't know if you want to interrupt yourself, your dua with that, but that's how it would work. So I'm very much in favor of doing countdown timers, okay? Because a lot of the time, if we're saying I'm going to read 20 pages of this book, it kind of drags on, and you're trying to just get through the pages quickly so you can finish the goal when things start getting tough, right? So instead, what I say is, take your time, read those pages as quick or as slow as you like. When the timer runs out, you stop, right? And that will allow you to actually get the real benefit out of it. Because if you think about, if you're reading a book, the benefit doesn't come from finishing pages. It comes from reading, understanding, digesting, contemplating, okay? So I'm very much in favor of doing countdown timers for things, okay? So yeah, you can see there in the chat, you can see the structure of the goals, how to structure your goals, how to write them out. And now it's about actually writing them out. So that's what I'm going to do now, inshallah, in my own writing, right? And you'll just be here with me doing your own, and we can kind of bounce ideas off each other. And you just check with me when you've written a goal or 2 or whatever, check with me if it's done correctly. Because every year, people come, alhamdulillah, people come on the live stream and they give me their ideas or their goal ideas, their plan, and it's not specific enough, or they're missing out an ingredient, okay? So let's invest some time now in getting this right, and once we got it right, we're ready for the whole of Ramadan, inshallah, okay? And this is a skill that you're going to learn for every Ramadan to come, inshallah, okay? So I'm just going to start with my plan. I'm going to write down my goals, and then you give me yours in the chat, okay, as you're writing them down, okay? So my first one would be, I read 1 juz after Fajr. Yeah, so that's one I tend to do every year. Okay, so we've got some coming in. So I make dua on Friday before Maghrib for at least a few minutes. Yeah, that's good. So instead of at least a few minutes, I would specify a minimum time. So maybe it sounds like you're saying a few minutes because you don't know if you can really commit to a long time, but say at least 2 minutes or at least 3 minutes, put a number on it, I would say. And then I would replace before Maghrib with a time or something else, because before Maghrib, when is before Maghrib, right? It's not clear. It's not, you can look at the time and say, oh, it's time now. Or you can't hear the adhan and say, oh, it's time now. Okay. So that's what I would change about that. Yeah. Then we've got another one. So I will read Quran at whenever time I wake up first thing in the morning for as long as it takes to finish 1 juz. Okay. So I read Quran. Basically, I read 1 juz of Quran and then it's whenever I wake up. You know, I would change that, and I would say the only thing I would change here is when you do it, because when I wake up, it just sounds here and there, like you haven't committed to a time. It should be, I will do it when I wake up, and I wake up at 9, and that's when I'll definitely do it. You know, even if I have to put an alarm to wake up, you know, so that's how I would do it. Okay. So that's that one. So let me go on to doing my second goal. So I pray 8 rak'ah after Isha. Okay, so I'm going to pray Isha after they calls pretty much. So I'll do that then. Another one is I will read that book, Tafsir book. So I want to read a book as one of my goals. So I'm going to do a time one for it. It's not Quran, it's another book. So I'm going to say I will read it for, I think, 15 minutes every day or something like that. For 15 minutes. When though? So let me just check what different slots I had available. So you see how this works, right? We've got we're very clear on when we can do stuff, what we're thinking of doing, and then we can just slot our goals into that. Okay. So okay. Do this after Asr, I think. After Asr. No, that wouldn't actually be a good time. So you got to think also of when's the optimal time to do stuff. So like I said, for me, between Asr and Maghrib, it's more of a tired time. It's also when I'm working, right, usually. So that's one thing to think of. But then between, for example, between Isha or Taraweeh and when I sleep, that's going to be a time when I've eaten, so I've got some energy. I've prayed, so some time has passed between eating, and I'm probably going to have some energy at that time. So I think that's a better time than during the day when I will be fasting and a bit tired, right? Or just before I break my fast, the most tired you're going to be. So that's what I'm going to say after Tarawih. Okay. So share your goals with me, inshallah, and I'll just check that they're like specific enough and everything. And then maybe we can also get ideas out of that from each other and share ideas around of what we can do and when we can do it. You know, a really good time to do, depending on your sleep schedule and these kind of things, really good time to do any type of ibadah, especially the most intensive, energy intensive ibadah, is after Fajr. definitely, because you would have eaten your suhoor, and then you would have prayed Fajr, and it's like you just ate, right? You just ate, you've prayed, and now you've got full energy, like you're not fasting. Okay, so that's a really good time. The name of the tafsir book, it's in Arabic. It's called Quran Tadabbur wa Amal. I don't know if the word Quran is in it, but basically Quran Tadabbur wa Amal. Tadabbur wa Amal. That's like a really good summary tafsir book that includes so many different tafsir in it, quoting from all of it. Okay, so putting another one down. My pen's gone. Okay, I'm waiting for your goals. Yeah, don't just watch me write my goals. I'm gonna have to, even though I don't recommend this, I'm gonna move onto computer because to write my goals because my pen ran out of ink, and I'm with you here, so I can't get another pen. So my next one was gonna be, yes, I will make for at, let's say, that actually would be interesting. No, yeah, at 6 p.m. So I'm using a time. It's good to link things, obviously, to Salah, but sometimes Salah moves, obviously. Times of Salah move. So that's why I'm using time for that one. So that I'm talking about the goal. When will I do the goal? I put 6 p.m., right? So we've got another one. Is this better? I make dua on Fridays immediately before Maghrib for 2 or more minutes. Yeah, so that's good. And just be clear in your head, at least. You don't have to write this, but be clear. What dua are you going to make? Do you need to make a list, or are you just going to make dua and you're fine with that? Second thing is, where will you do it, right? Because if you're somewhere where you have a lot of people around, maybe that makes it difficult. And then when things get difficult, then you stop it, right? So we really want to optimize for getting things actually done. Okay, it's not about getting a lot done. It's about definitely doing it. So we have momentum. And so Allah, inshallah, will accept our ibadah. And beyond Ramadan, we feel like, yeah, I can do this. I can do this ibadah. I just fasted 30 days, so I can definitely fast. I just, read Quran every single day for 30 years. So yes, that's something I can do. I just, made dua every day for 30 days. So I think that's something. So it's about feeling that momentum that, yes, this is doable. Yes, this is possible. Maybe I won't read a whole juz a day after Ramadan, but yeah, I could definitely read, 5 pages, for example. So that's the idea. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, so I learn Arabic after Dhuhr for 15 minutes. Okay, that's good. The only way I would improve that is I learn Arabic. You need to get specific on that. So for example, I will do the exercises in this certain book after Dhuhr for 15 minutes. That's more specific. Maybe you know that in your head what you're going to do, but just make sure you're specific and you're clear on what exactly you're going to do, because otherwise tomorrow after Dhuhr, you're going to sit down and you'll be like, yes, time for Arabic. And then you're going to think, well, what is the Arabic? Then you're going to research what books, and then you're going to do this and this. And then that's how you give up, basically. That's how you burn out, when you have to make a decision. We want to remove decisions as much as possible. Okay. So even this book that I was talking about reading, I know where that book is, and I've taken the book out, right? And I'm going to leave that book there. So it's very clear. I go there, I read that book, this amount of time, I'm done. Okay. I watch the Yasir Qadi Quran series at 4:45 when I start cooking, for as long as it takes to finish it. Okay. So you're going to listen to it rather more than watching it, right? For that time. Yeah. So that makes sense. If that's when you start cooking every day, then that's good, because that means you're already cooking. So you're mixing 2 habits together. You got the existing habit of cooking at a certain time, and you're mixing it, you're adding another habit on top of it, which is the best way really to establish a habit. Okay, so let me think. I also I will. Okay. Um, okay, so I just added another one. Okay, how do you recommend structuring making a dua list? Well, I would Google some of the best dua. I mean, you find them, I think, in, for example, Riyadh Salihin. There is that book with a lot of dua in it. So that's a good place to start. You might also Google du'as from the Quran, and I'm sure you'll find a list of those. So there are some du'a that Allah has given us pre-made, okay? And these are proven good du'a that prophets have made, for example, and they got accepted. So we always want to try and follow the prophets in du'a. Even though du'a is open, you can make whatever du'a you want. But if we follow the prophets and how they made du'a, and how Allah recommended we make du'a, and how Allah praised certain people that made certain du'as, then that's better, of course. So I would start there, and I would build a certain amount of du'a in that way, because those du'a, a lot of those du'a as well will be general for things that we should want, okay, like Jannah, like protection from the fire, like ikhlas, you know, sincerity in our actions and stuff like that. And then, so I would do like maybe half of that, and then I would do half which is custom to me, like, Ya Allah, you know, bless me with a son or a daughter. Ya Allah, you know, bless me with a spouse. Ya Allah, give good health to my parents. These specific things I would also have. So maybe I'll split it 50-50 in that way, something like that, really. And then also you could have a longer list for the last 10 days, really. Well, that might be something to think about. Okay, what's next? Jazakallah khairan wa iyyakum. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. I write my goals on my phone and set a reminder for each goal. For example, Tafsir Juz Amma at 4 p.m. for 40 minutes. Yeah, that's really good as well. I was thinking about that. For a few of these, like making dua, I'm going to put it in my Google Calendar and I'll get the notification on my phone, because I will be probably working at that time when I've set it. But when that pops up, I'm just going to stop working for a few minutes and do that thing, right? So that's a good thing. But the ideal habit wouldn't need a reminder. It wouldn't need an alarm or anything. The reason being is you're going to link it to something you're already doing. So for example, if you're already praying Isha, then the habit to link with that is Taraweeh, right? I'm going to pray Taraweeh. And that's quite easy one, because Ramadan, we always, alhamdulillah, often make that habit of praying Taraweeh. But then Taraweeh, if Taraweeh is going to be an easy habit to set, then what you're going to want to do is connect something again to the end of Taraweeh again. You get it? So it's good to create new habits by linking it to existing habits, and then you kind of don't need a reminder. But a good reminder would be, yeah, to have it on your phone as a reminder to come up, or you can actually write these goals we're writing together now in big, and then put them on the wall, so it's like a reminder every single day. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Father Sunglasses, interesting name. Okay, so I've got, in terms of the number of habits or goals you might want to set for Ramadan, I think if it's your first Ramadan, like planning it properly and like having a great Ramadan basically, and achieving the things you want to achieve, then don't be so hungry and ambitious to the level where it endangers the momentum you're going to build. So I would say 4 habits would be good. 4 habits would be good. If you've already done this with me, for example, the last few years, you've been doing it and you've been achieving those goals every time or most of the time, then you might have 5, 6, right? But beyond 6, for things you're going to try and do every single day, that is a bit difficult, I think, for any human. That is difficult. Okay. So The higher end of things, I would say 6 goals. And right now, I kind of have 6. I have 6 right now. Okay. And let me just check my list of ideas for goals and just see if there's anything I've missed out, which I really wanted to make sure I do this year. So yeah, keep the questions coming in, keep the goals coming in, and I will just check they're specific enough, because as you saw, some people, they did a really good job, but there was just a little tweak that I would have made, because I've been doing this for many years. So I know when people are not being specific enough, and that's going to actually be difficult for them. Okay, so yeah, okay, there's one thing that I missed then. So I'm going to add that. I will in the after Fajr. I just okay. Okay, really good stuff. Okay, is there anything else that I would like to fit in here? That is done. You see, now I've got an idea for another goal, but because I've already got 6/7 goals, I'm going to leave it there, right? So that's really, I'm trying to be an example here and limit things. Just because, I mean, in the end, I know myself, right? I know that, for example, out of the 6/7 goals I've written down, I know 2 of them I've, alhamdulillah, done every year for years and years now. So that's kind of automatic, which means I've got 4 or 5 that I'm adding that don't come supernatural to me. And so that's where I'm going to have to put the effort. So I want to just be careful with those, that I don't burn out and I don't not do them. Okay. And believe me, I've done plenty of Ramadans where 1 or 2 goals I've set, I never did them. After 5-10 days, I just failed. And at that point, that's when you're going to have to, that's why it's good to have the list of goals on your wall, on your bedroom wall, for example, and just say, look, be honest with yourself. I'm failing at this goal. How can I reduce it? How can I do it at a different time? How can I make it more doable? Because really, you want to do everything possible to reach the end of Ramadan and say, look, my goals, they weren't the most ambitious goals, but I did every single one of them, and I feel good about myself, and may Allah accept, and let me go now. I'm ready to go for Shawwal. I'm ready to keep up some of these goals in my daily life. And that's how you live the life of a Muslim, is doing these habits of ibadah every single day and building them up year after year. It's not about going from 0 to 100 in 1 year. It's about building it up. Every Ramadan, give yourself a little kick to do more. That's kind of how you do it. What if I feel too tired or fatigued? How can I feel more energized to commit? Well, that's a very good point. So that's why I said the times at which you do the ibadah, you're going to want to pick strategically the times where you have the most energy to do the hardest ibadah. Right. So if reading 1 juz or 2 juz, it's difficult for you, so it's a little bit tiring, you need focus, then do that, I would say, after Fajr. That's a good time to do it, because you just eaten, you prayed, and now you know, and it's a good time of day. Fajr, wow, the most productive time of day. So that's what I would say first. And then if you don't feel energized, I mean, maybe your sleeping pattern is an issue, maybe what you're eating is an issue. It's always better to eat less food than more, right? In general, that's a general rule. And then what you eat, again, you're gonna want to, you know, just be careful with that. I think Ramadan is something that shows me very clearly that we really don't need many meals in a day. Like if you have a medium-sized iftar, and then you have a small or medium-sized suhoor, like that's plenty of energy. That's plenty of energy. You want to get your fluids. You could drink, you know, space your fluids out. So when you're praying Taraweeh, in between every 2 rak'ah, you drink a bit of water, because then you're spacing it out, right? So that's good. But if you give me more detail, maybe I can help you with the whole energized and fatigue thing. But generally, I would say it's probably due to diet or sleeping pattern, maybe. Okay, you could have some green tea or coffee with your suhoor and take a midday nap. Yeah, so diet and sleeping, basically. Yeah, definitely what I find is when I have my suhoor, I have a good suhoor. And it's not a carb heavy suhoor, which sometimes takes energy, you know, to digest. And I do have coffee and stuff. So, and I do the hardest ibadah at that time, and then I also work quite a lot of that time because I know during the afternoon it's going to be trickier to do the harder work. Okay, so that's kind of what I do. The key is to set goals which aren't too easy nor too arduous. Be realistic. Yeah, definitely. Please upload video. It is the time of iftar. Yeah, inshallah, this video should be available afterwards, after we've finished going live. So yeah, I've planned my Ramadan now. There are a few things I just want to check. I've done. I will do this/this because I wasn't sure about exactly what I can commit to. But after that, that will be my Ramadan plan, and then it's about getting Quran, the Book of Allah. So you're having iftar now, which means you're probably in Malaysia, Indonesia, I'm guessing. MashaAllah. I was saying, yeah. So the next stage after you've planned your Ramadan is to get all the resources ready. That's what I would call it, is resources. So if you're going to study that book, then get that book, put it in the place where you're going to use it. If it's about giving to charity, make a list of the charities and hyperlinks. Okay, hyperlinks for the charity if you're going to give online, and then it's just a click away. And each day, let's say you want to give every single day a little bit, then have a spreadsheet and just have the link in it already. So spend 1 hour researching what you want to give to, and then have the link ready. So every day it's easy. That's the whole point of this. If your goal is to give every single day, that goal is not prepared because you haven't found which charities you're going to give to. So do that in advance. It might take 1 hour once. And then for the rest of Ramadan, you're just clicking and giving. Okay. So that's what I would recommend when it comes to giving charity. And I did that actually last year. I had a spreadsheet with different charities and I shared it with you all. So I might do that again, actually, come to think of it. Maybe in the last 10 days, I will do that. I think a lot of the links will be expired now, but there are some charities that I always like to give to or I like to recommend. So I guess a lot of those will still be active. So I can make that spreadsheet available bi'idhnillah. So again, just to remind you, if you scroll up in the chat, you'll see the recommended, what's it called? The recommended structure, okay, for the for how to set your goals. So I actually just copy that and paste it again in the chat as a reminder for how to structure your goals. Okay, so it's like what worship, what act of worship, for example, I give charity at what time? So I give charity after Taraweeh every day, and instead of duration here, you might say the amount. So $10, you know, every day, for example. And I'm here. I mean, we've been here now 45 minutes. I've gone through the whole system. Step one is to work out what time do you have, what time slots in your day do you have for ibadah. Step two is identify the ibadah that you want to do, that you find inclined to do, that you really want to do, and you know Allah is encouraging you to do that. And then step three is to actually set those goals and write it down using the format that I gave you there in the chat. So I do X act of worship at X time for X amount of time, or X duration, or X pages, or whatever. Okay. And if there's no further questions, or if you don't want me to kind of review any more of your goals, we'll wrap it up. I'll just wait around for another probably 2 minutes just to make sure people, don't miss out. And then we'll wrap it up, inshallah. Thanks everyone for joining me. Jazakumullah khairan. I hope there's a really good Ramadan for you. I hope you have a great Ramadan. You take advantage of stuff like doing Taraweeh at home by yourself and reciting Quran in your own Taraweeh or behind your family or your father, whatever it is. I hope that's a new experience, a beneficial experience for you. Since, sometimes we spend a lot of time going to the masjid, coming from the masjid, waiting inside the masjid, going to people's invitations. And those things are great as well. But since we don't have it, let's take advantage of it. I'm unable to focus. I give up easily after 10 minutes reading. Basically, hard to stay in the zone. I can't concentrate. How do you avoid giving up easily? Well, what I would do is, yeah, I would do exactly what Earth is Amazing saying is, the thing is, reading is something that, in my experience at least, you have to build a muscle for it. So you can't just, even if you're really motivated, you can't just go and read for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes nonstop every day and it's easy. It's not easy. A lot of us are used to, we're addicted to, dopamine basically from this thing, which means that everything we do, we want an immediate reward. And what that means is that when your brain is doing something that doesn't have immediate reward, it's like, come on, like it feels very slow and difficult. So I would change your time for how long you're reading. I would even if you have to go to the level of saying, I'm going to read for 2 minutes a day. And when you're reading 2 minutes a day, every single day for 15 days, let's say, then I would increase that to maybe 4 minutes or 5 minutes, and then do that every single day. And then after Ramadan, I would keep increasing little by little. But I would always make sure that I do it gradually over 2 or 4 week periods. Never say like, oh, I read 5 minutes every day for 5 days. Now I can increase. No, that's not proven. Okay. You need to prove that you can do it. And then you get to go up further. Right. And again, it's not about doing it just Ramadan. It's not about doing it all in one go and then stopping. It's about gradually doing it and year by year increasing, not just day by day increase, but year by year. So this year you might fast reading. Okay. So this year you might read every day for just 5 minutes, but next year you can turn that to 10 minutes. And that kind of consistency is what is really going to win for you, basically. That's really what's going to win for you, inshallah. The consistency of your actions. And in the end, if you die before that, before you gather and accumulate all those deeds that you're planning to do as you increase, then we expect the best of Allah. And we expect that perhaps Allah will reward us for what we plan to do, because our ultimate plan was sincerely trying to be consistent. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said the best deeds are those that are consistent. Adwamuha wa in qal, consistent even if they're small deeds. So say that I'm going to reduce my reading time to just 3 minutes because of what the Prophet ﷺ said. Inshallah, you get extra reward for that, for saying like I'm doing it because the Prophet ﷺ said so. What's the best sleep schedule for after Isha? The best schedule, I mean, it depends on your lifestyle and your routine and these kind of things. But what I've often found good after Isha is, so it depends on your time zone as well. Because for me, I've got 2-3 hours between Taraweeh and when I would like an 11 p.m., which is when I would try to sleep for. So I would sleep 11 p.m. till Fajr, which let's say Fajr is 4. So that's 5 hours. And then I would also sleep about 3 hours before Dhuhr. So that's actually 8 hours, which I probably don't need, but I don't want the sleepiness to catch up to me later in the month. So yeah, so I split it into 2 generally. Sleep at night time before Fajr, before Fajr, yes, before Suhoor. And then also I try and do a lot of stuff after Fajr. So I work after Fajr for like 3-4 hours, and then I sleep until Dhuhr. So that's what I found. I've done that for many years, alhamdulillah, but that's based on my time zone. I don't know where you are and what your time zone is like. Okay. Hanan says, my goal, first 10 days tafsir. Okay. So you're going to have to use the template. Okay. So make sure you use the template. So I do X at X time for X duration, or time or pages or whatever. So for example, for tafsir, you would say, I read X tafsir book. You'll be specific about the book. After Dhuhr, for example, for 20 minutes. That's how you would phrase that. Aisha reported the Prophet ﷺ would not sleep before the evening prayer, and he would not stay up after it. The evening prayer being Isha, right? So he wouldn't sleep before it, okay? and he would not stay up after it. Right. So I happen to be following that, I suppose. Yeah, it's generally recommended to sleep straight after Isha. I know a lot of us are not used to that, but that is recommended, what I've heard. I'm doing a digital detox, only using my phone for tafsir or Quran. That's great. That's really good idea to do in Ramadan as well. Actually, I reduced my target screen time on my phone as well for this Ramadan, even though it's already pretty low, alhamdulillah. But I would really recommend that as a goal as well. And I would use software, I would use the built-in stuff in your phone to reduce your time. Don't make an effort like, okay, when I unlock my phone, no, I'm going to remember and put it away. That never happens. So use the limitations you can put on your phone. Like I can only use Instagram for 10 minutes a day or something. Put limitations to lock you out of it after a certain amount of time spent on it. I would really, really recommend that. And try and keep it up to some extent after Ramadan. Okay, Hanan, good. You're going to use the goal template. So you're saying the first 10 days you're going to read tafsir, and then the other 10 days you're going to do hadith, and the last 10 days you're going to focus on a lot of salah and stuff like that. So that's great. You just got to be specific, of course, for each of those goals. So there's a lot of goals there and what you mentioned. I would write a goal specifically for each one of them using that template. And I like how you did it in like 3/3, you know, that's interesting to vary it as well, to vary it. Okay. Would you recommend taking breaks throughout the day, maybe watching YouTube, or is it better to avoid anything that's not necessarily beneficial? I think, you know, for a lot of us, that's unrealistic to completely cut those things out. So it's about having a gradual increase in beneficial time spent and a gradual decrease of waste of time spent. But for example, if you like to watch random videos on YouTube, then maybe you can spend that time watching beneficial but still entertaining videos on YouTube. But having said that, it must be in line with your goals, right? So if watching YouTube, you say, look, I'm used to this stuff. That's my lifestyle for the last 10 years. That's how I live life. I'm not going to cut it cold turkey in 1 month. I would agree with you. But if it's going to like interfere with some of your most basic goals for worship in Ramadan, then you've got to do something about it. You know what I mean? So let's say if you spend 1 hour a day on YouTube, I would cut that down, right? And then if you usually read 5 minutes a day, I would increase that. You get it? So decrease the bad, increase the good. But I don't know about cold turkey, to be honest. I don't think I really believe in going cold turkey unless it's somewhere where you can lock yourself out of it, you know, and you're not going to unlock yourself out of it. So like on actually on all phones, smartphones, like at least Android, Apple, you can lock yourself out of apps. You can do it. So I would do it, right? I would delete apps as well, even. There's some interesting software that I would recommend you look into. Buy it for Ramadan and then use it after Ramadan as well. Okay, so one of them is freedom.to. That's to limit your, I think it does apps as well, but specific websites, right? So for example, it stops me watching YouTube during certain hours of the day. It stops me going onto YouTube completely. There's nothing I can do about it. It's blocked, it's locked. Okay, so I use freedom.to for that. And freedom.to, they also make a free extension called Limit, I think. So Chrome extension called Limit. Okay, which it's easy to kind of get out of, but it helps you in terms of how long you've spent on a certain website. And then the phone can use Freedom as well, but it also has its own built-in limiter as well, which I would use. And I would also delete apps. So, you know, as some of you might know, years ago, I deleted Twitter completely. I deleted Facebook's never been on my phone. I deleted YouTube from my phone because YouTube was the area where I would say I entertain myself the most, or I waste time the most on. So I just deleted it from my phone, which drastically decreased my time spent on YouTube. So I can only watch YouTube on my laptop now. And then thanks to freedom.to, I can only go on YouTube during a small period of the day. So I get to enjoy those videos which are good, and which it makes me prioritize videos right? Because I'm not going to watch random videos anymore because I've got a very limited time in which I can watch videos in the first place. So I'm only going to watch the good ones because I know I'm limited in time. And that's just locked in. Like, I can't change that. You get it? The settings is set up that way. So that's really, really good. Life changer. Freedom.to, life changer. If you're committed, right? Because I think all of these softwares, you can find ways around them potentially. I think Freedom.to has done a good job of trying to stop you being able to do things, but you could find ways around it. But what you want is you want to lock yourself out, and you, whenever it locks you out, you know, your time is up, you want to say, yes, I'm annoyed. Like, I wanted to watch that one more video, but you remember your goals and you remember what you're here on earth for, you know? So having said that, I think we'll wrap up here, inshallah. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a very fruitful Ramadan. And the main thing is to make dua for acceptance from Allah, because we could put a lot of time and effort in, we could follow all our goals. And if, you know, for whatever reason, we're doing it to feel just good about ourselves, purely just for ego, purely to show off, purely for the whatever, then it's all for nothing. So we ask Allah for ikhlas, we ask Allah to accept from us. And I'm glad, alhamdulillah, that you have benefited from it. I've benefited from it because I've planned my goals with you now. We're 1-2 days kind of into Ramadan, but alhamdulillah, better late than never, right? So thank you so much. Jazakum Allahu khairan. May Allah accept from you and from all of us. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.